everyone, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be having a look at props in Regan, which is the first episode of season 1. Hopefully you guys have seen some of the other videos that I've done where I've broken down the episode, also gone through setting and some of the dress codes as well. I think there's one more video that I've got planned on Regan, which is the sort of sound aspects to Regan, diegetic, non-diegetic sound, and then we'll have a look at sort of comparing the two crime dramas before we get into some exam questions for you. So let's get straight into it. So the first prop that we see is the newspaper. Now the newspaper sort of initially helps to conceal the first character, who we later find out is Brooker, who is a villain, but it also helps to date the programme because we can quite clearly see some of the headlines on the sports pages, and it also then provides an element of relatability, particularly for the contemporary audience, so the audience who were watching at the time that this was aired. We then see the gun, which becomes a major plot point for the narrative, and this appears throughout the episode in lots of different places. Obviously, we would expect this within the crime drama genre, but it also helps to identify who is a villain, who's the hero, who's the good guys, and who's the bad guys. So the gun prop helps to identify the characters as well as providing sort of a focus for the narrative as a whole. We also get the van, which is disguised. So initially when we see it, it's a sort of florist van, but we find out that it's an ambulance underneath and that it's one that has perhaps been decommissioned. Now again, this provides a link to the genre because we would expect to have an element of disguise within crime drama, whether that's through a character or through some of the props that are used. But it also gives us enigma as well, particularly when we first see it, because we don't understand at that point how this is going to fit into the narrative, how it's going to be used, and for what purpose. Now, the roll of money that we see Brooker have is seen twice within the episode. So initially he uses it to pay off the guy who was driving the van, but he then uses it to pay off Billy later on in the episode. So this prop becomes associated purely with Brooker. Now, it emphasises his criminal activity because he has so much of the money together. We also then later find out that perhaps this money is forged as well, and this gives him not only a level of control but also sort of identifies him as a sort of fixer character who tries to sort of get everything into place and to solve issues that occur throughout the story with Kemble. Now the first prop that we see Regan have is the watch. Now it doesn't play a large part in the story as a whole, but we have this close-up shot on the watch which emphasises parts of Regan's character, such as the fact that he's a little bit forgetful. He's sort of got these human flaws of things like sleeping in and being late, and that sort of helps to start the narrative and helps to start the episode as a whole. We then have other props that are associated with Regan, such as the camera and the thermos. Now these not only help to date the programme, but they also act as a form of synergy and product placement for the time. We also see combined with that the notepad. Now this again helps to date the programme because particularly in the modern day now, we've got police moving towards more sort of handheld notebooks, notepads, sort of electronic versions, but it's also anticipated for the genre as a whole. We would expect to see police with some form of notepad making notes on the crime, on the case, and we would also expect that to be associated then with the good guys. So this is sort of a recognisable element or prop that we as an audience expect to see. Now the gold lighter that we see when Merrick is explaining the plan emphasises wealth, but it could also represent danger because it's a lighter, because it's associated with fire, and this helps to provide not only an element of suspense, even though it's very minor, but it also provides this visual of the plan for the demographic because it's literally being, sort of taken down streets and things as Merrick's sort of plotting out what's going to happen. Now the surveillance photographs are sort of a way of separating the good and the bad guys. We get introduced to a lot of characters very quickly in Regan, so it's useful for us to know who's on which side. And we would also expect, having had a surveillance sort of scene prior, to see photographs as well. So this is again another recognisable feature for us as a demographic. What isn't recognisable though is the memorabilia shop. So Soldier's shop provides a sort of level of contrast or a level of unexpectedness because we don't see those sorts of places sort of every day or in our day-to-day lives, sort of where we live, generally speaking. So it provides this sort of unexpected element. Now, what's useful about that shop is that there are lots of different props within it. So I've sort of classed it all together as this sort of memorabilia or this sort of shop. But there are lots of different props in there that would get different responses from audiences. So this helps with multiple readings. Audience members within the same family could sit down, watch this first episode, and they'd all get something different from this scene because of the different emotions that would come from seeing some of these props and some of these elements within the shop. Now, the earring isn't actually seen within the show, but it is essential. So where this occurs within the narrative is just as Merrick and Brooker have arrived at Jenny's place to question her, and Merrick sort of is taking it off as she opens the door. Now, again, this acts as an element of disguise. So with the earring, Merrick seems far less plausible in his disguise, but without it, he's more reputable. And this is something that we would expect for crime dramas as a whole. The iron that we get within this scene as well is used as a weapon. So this raises the tension, raises the suspense for us as the audience, as well as adding details to the characters of Merrick and Brooker. So we know, obviously we've sort of worked it out before, but we have that extra little bit of sort of villainy added to these characters. And then really the only other prop that I could sort of think to comment on that's perhaps slightly different to the things that we've had before is the yogurt that Carter eats. Now, this acts as a form of comic relief because it makes Carter seem like a softer figure in comparison to Regan. So he's more innocent, he seems traditionally less masculine. So this sort of helps to emphasize that Regan's the main character, Regan's the boss, and that Carter is sort of the sidekick or the helper character. Hopefully that helped you guys. It was a really quick video today. I know there's quite a few key terms here, but not too many that you couldn't find definitions for them or include them in your own work. Hopefully you're finding these videos useful. We are coming to the end of crime drama. Once we've gone through the questions for crime drama, I'll be looking at some of the new texts for those of you who are in year 10. We'll be looking at some of the music videos and padding that out as well. So if you have any questions, comments, requests for videos, seeing as we're getting to the end of crime drama, pop them in the comments section below. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the button below, and if you hit the bell icon next to it, then you get instant notifications every time I post a new video. And I will see you guys later for another video.